Okay, so market update time. So let's take a look at the S&P 500. I know the market's only been open 45 minutes, but let's take a look anyway. So it did gap down this morning, but it started heading up. But you know, I can't really say anything until the end of the day, so we'll just have to wait and see. Let's take a look at the DJX. DJX still doing its little consolidation, just like the S&P 500. So we'll just have to wait. Let's take a look at the watch list. I haven't had anything really added outside of. Let's take a look at. Let me make these blue. There we go. Okay, so we've got two in addition from last weekend. I've got cab right here, and what do I have this one? Let's do year. Okay, so I've got cab. Hopefully it can stay above this price line right here. So I'm not buying into it just yet, or I don't see a buy signal right off the bat. I'm just waiting to see which direction it's going to take it. And then we have RAD. I know y'all are familiar with RAD. I've talked about RAD before. So far RAD's doing okay. We had this gap down, and then it found a pretty solid price. Now if you remember when I was talking about this one, we had all these dojis, so I said that this one was going to gap back up, and by gap back up I mean just start heading back up. So that's like 13% potential right there. So now I'm waiting for the gap fill, and the gap fill is from here to here. So if you're still in, you know, you're looking at, you know, almost 20%. So that's RAD. You know, it's kind of sort of still an option right now. You can buy into it. It's just your probabilities are not as good as they could be. For example, well, you set your expectations accordingly, but like your potential from this point here is 4%. Now I would set my stop loss below this line, the high of this candle. So, you know, roughly 588, so that your risk tolerance is like something like 2%. You know, because if it ends up heading back down, then I'd rather get out of it than stay in, even if it does continue to go up, just because of the probability of it keeping on going down. Now there's URA. URA I'm going to keep an eye on just because of this doji candle here. You got a doji, which is a sign of reversal, in line roughly with the low of these candles. So, I mean, you do have historic backing on it, regardless, even if it is just one, you know, in combination with this huge volume, I do foresee it coming back up, like up to here. But, you know, we'll have to wait and see what it does. But, you know, depending on the volume we get this morning, this might be a really good option. So far, URA is on my good on my good list. Even though it is negative today, it might be just trying to retrace back down to this price. So we'll have to wait and see what it does. Let's talk about AMD. AMD, really good favorable conditions for AMD right now. As suspected, if you remember me talking, if it does manage to break the, what was it, the 45 or 1425, or the high of this candle, right? Yeah, 1450 or 1445, something like that. Then it would turn into a momentum, which is exactly what it's doing. And I think people are just catching wind of how strong Ryzen is, because over the weekend there's been a lot of press and actual media units being released to a lot of different people, like say Jace 2 Cents, for example. Like, he's got his own. Anyways, they're starting to review. Yeah, they're starting to review their thing. So AVP is next on the list. Creeping up on the 23.6 fib. I'm hoping it breaks it so we can have an opportunity up towards the 38.2. So that could be something to watch out for. Could be very interesting. BAC, Bank of America. Just check out the financial district sector. But what I'm hoping for, I mean, like, everything is due for a reversal right now. So I was hoping this one would trace back down to the support line so we could grab it on the way back up for a quick 5% or something. BBRY, another one on my list that I'm going to be watching. But where did my alert go? Anyways, I'm gonna have an alert like roughly here. Anything that or below this alert is going to alert me around the $7 mark, or roughly the 703, 702, around that area. Because I do want to pay attention to this depending on the intraday chart and the VWAP and everything. I am curious to grab this on the way back up because the profit potential on this one is really good. Like, let's say you grabbed it down here and you've got like 5 or 6% roughly, and then sell 50% here, and then you could grab it all the way up here for like 7.8 or 8%, depending on when you take in your profits. So BKD, another one, it's right on the 61.8 Fibonacci retracement, and this is not a really bad buy condition in my opinion, because you've got one touch here, and it's testing it again. Although the overall trend, in my opinion, is lower and lower, even though this is a tall wick, even though it did make it to the top, that's kind of just the market testing it and it was rejected. I would argue that the overall direction is something like this. So you could ride this back up to roughly the 78.6 for a quick 6%. So, in my opinion, I'm actually going to put a buy signal right here, and we'll see if this keeps up. BKD, I'm going to put green, and I'm going to put BS right there for buy signal. Not because it's bullshit, but yeah, see, like right here, I tend to keep track of all my stocks and my predictions, and then I'll calculate whether or not I'm correct on most of them, so we'll see what happens. So, edit another one. Now, just because they're on the list doesn't mean that I think they're going to be going up this week. It's just whether or not I think they have the potential to be going up. So we got this good doji formation going down here. It's tested the 50% for 3 consecutive market days, and it's been rejecting it. So I'm thinking that this is going to head back up for at least a 5-6%, if not all the way back up to the overall trend line of 10%. So this one is looking pretty solid. Edit, I'm gonna go green on, and I'm going to maybe, yeah, let's just put a, let's put like a future arrow on this one, because I'm not sure about making a buy just yet on this one, because there's not enough data, in my opinion, to be making a buy. Where'd my blue arrow go? There it is. Let's delete that green one. So I'm just going to put it like roughly over here. We'll have to wait and see. If it goes positive, let's say it breaks this, then we might have a little buy signal coming in. I am curious about this one. Edit's looking pretty good for me. ENDP, always coming back to ENDP, even though I always talk about not. But ENDP is looking pretty good. Let's see, I'm going to put a buy signal, say, here, because I do want it to come back down. Anything below this is a pretty good potential to head back up and test for the break of the high of that candle for 8%. This is an opening wedge, so your profit margins are an increased. In a sense, you could wait for it to retrace back down. It's only a matter of time before it does to this overall trend channel, so you could pick up like 20% if you wanted to. If that's what your goal is, you're always running that potential, but the real money or the real probability is going to be if you were to buy down here and it breaks this candle, then your probability of success, including your profit margins, are rather increased, because one, you've got this opening wedge pattern in combination with volume. If the volume comes into that, then you can kind of set your expectations accordingly. FH on the list again. Whoops. FH. Did I mess something up on the right here? No. Okay, so FH. FH was looking really solid. It seems as though this one's just really weird, because early in the morning it jumps up and then it comes back all the way down as people take in their profits, which I don't blame them, because I mean from here to here is almost 9%. You know, so if it were me and I was intraday trading and I saw this, I'd be like, hell yeah, I'll take in my 9%. Even down here, for example, like that's 7%. That's not a bad day for an intraday trader. Now I don't do intraday trading, so I'm just looking at this. I'm looking at the volume. Is the relative volume good? Like on this day, for example. On this day, you got a pretty good buy signal here, so you could erode this one back up to here. So like this relatively high volume day, in conjunction with a positive price action, to me, I'm like, okay, that's good. You could erode it up to here and sold here. Well, I would have sold 50% and then, been nervous on this day, but I would have sold 50% here just because of the number of times that this resistance line has been touched in the recent history. Down signal on a relatively high volume day. I'm waiting on this guy to develop and see if we were going to get some pretty good price action in conjunction with a high volume day. So I am curious to see where this one goes. I'm gonna set an alert on this one, because if it manages to break above this line and stay above it, then we'll be in pretty good shape to ride this one back up for maybe a 9% gain. ENDP, I've got a pretty long list, so bear with me. ENDP, same thing. Pretty similar to FH, just right back up. Actually, ENDP we already talked about. FSC, I'm going to try and run through these pretty quick. If it can follow this trend without retracing back to the Fibonacci 0, then we'll be in pretty good shape. HK is looking pretty solid in my opinion. Got the development of a doji. I do have a preemptive buy signal here depending on how the earnings go. So HK, not a buy until, what is this? Until after tomorrow, because the earnings is after hours. So Wednesday is when I would look at this one. It is entirely possible, like I've been saying, that it can drop or it can skyrocket. So, don't play that probability, because that's one of the ways you can lose out on a lot of money. So MVIS, another one I'm looking at. As far as alerts go, I do want this to break, let's say, above the $1.77, because that'd be a pretty good sign that it is reversing its trend. But right now it kind of seems like the 20 EMA is holding it up a little bit. You can see that it touched it just barely. And the fact that it's making higher lows is my reasoning as to why it's going to be heading up. So I'm curious to see where this one goes, but I'm putting my money on heading back up, so I'm curious about that one. But do bear in mind that most of the indexes are heading down, so that's most of the good stocks are going to be fighting upstream. Let's see, Neon, I did put a buy signal here the last week, and honestly, I would kind of wait for this to touch the trend line, but the fact that the 20 EMA and the 20 SMAs are so close to one another, I wouldn't be surprised if this goes back down, because just the way that moving averages kind of work. So let's see, let's take a look at the volume. Yeah, it really depends on this day. If the volume is really, really low, then I would be worried for a reversal. We'll just have to wait. Neon, NKE, Nike, just waiting on it to meet the some support. So where was I? OCLR. Just waiting on it to get some support. I do have an alert in case it comes back up, but I'm just waiting for it to hit the $9 mark, maybe the $8.50 or the $8.90 mark. So we'll see where this one goes. OZM I've talked about a lot. OZM, if you remember it, this was some pretty good profit takings here. So earnings wasn't as good as anticipated, met back down to the original support, and it seems as though it's finding some more support right now. At least on Friday there was a doji in formation, but this one could, go all the way back down to the zero or continue to follow this trend. It's kind of peculiar how it's following exactly this trend, so I'd be curious to see where this one heads. But as far as I'm concerned, it does run the potential to go from here to here for a quick 5%, if not keep it on going to this recent consolidation area right here. So, I mean, you could take this all the way up to 6.5%, 7% if you wanted to. I mean, I would recommend scaling out on the way up, but PFE, I'm just bringing this one up because I made mistakes on this one. Buying down here and selling 50% here. And then these consecutive dojis with the lower highs, I anticipated this one to head back down, when in reality it didn't. So yeah, lesson learned. Wait for that confirmation on the negative candle, even if you end up losing. I think this was the day I sold because it dropped down. So to me, I was like, okay, this is heading south. So I'm gonna sell down here. So I ended up selling, and then it kicked back up, and it's been going up ever since. So lesson learned: wait till true end of day rather than being scared to lose profits. As long as you're positive, then there's no foul. SONC, Sonic. Another pretty good one here. If it can find some support on this consolidation period, then we'll be pretty good. The fact that we've got two dojis here seems as though it kind of wants to head back up here. Profit margins aren't too good if you consider the overall trend line here, so not one to consider because it still runs the potential to go down to the $24 mark. So this one, to me, I'm not, there's no clear buy signal. Maybe down here, but not right now. This is just one I'm looking at. So Tesla, if you remember Tesla from last week, this one was one of those where I'm just curious and I'm just kind of tracking. I kind of saw this coming. I wanted to see how high it could go because to me this is kind of overvalued. And then right when I was talking about this, some analysts got on the news and they were talking about how Tesla's prices were getting pretty outrageous, and then like a stone it just ends up dropping. So I'm curious to see if it's going to drop down and find some support at the 200 moving average, and then maybe we can pick it back up, because I mean, look at this historic move over here. Your profit margins could be pretty ridiculous if the market is overall bullish on this. So this one could be really interesting. Let's see. Tesla. And then Twitter, another good one that I'm looking at. Specifically, crap, I missed it. Oh well. I had a buy signal here, a little bit. Not. Let's say. I had a alert set for 1569, and this is the daily candle, and it dropped down here and immediately started picking back up. So if this turns into a doji, I might consider buying into it, because this is some pretty good conditions, in my opinion at least. So as far as I'm concerned, Twitter's probably going to be heading back up sometime soon. God, but man, that alert, if it was only like what was it, like, what is the low of this candle? Yeah, I missed it by 3 cents. So if it just went down 3 more cents, I would have been alerted, and I would have watched it, and then I would have gone in the intraday, and I would have probably done something about it. Oh well. Twitter, Under Armour. Whoops. Under Armour is another good one. So I do have a green box right here to, better visualize that gap down for your potential here, because gaps do tend to fill depending on a lot of different things. But this one looks like it's heading back down on the, what is this, the 20 EMA? No, this is the 20 SMA. So the simple moving average. So to me, I'm going to wait for it to come back down here. I do have an alert at 1808. So that's where I'm going to pick it up. for a ride back up, depending on where it finds support. I mean, this could easily turn into an up trending, depending on where it finds support. But to me, this isn't, something that's going to go down that much. AGEN looks like it found some support. This one is looking pretty good. So I don't see much volume on the day, on the morning at least. So depending on the volume on this day, this one could head back up. Even if you buy up here, you're looking at 18% as far as movement goes. So this one's pretty good. I am curious to see what the fuck happened on this day. So I'm gonna probably head back. Do bear in mind that the $4 is a psychological area for this, for all stocks, the whole dollars. So the whole dollar mark is gonna be a psychological resistance. So don't be wary if it, finds some resistance there. Cliff Foods, CLF. Shoot. Alright, well, it looks like it found some resistance right here, and it is heading back up. This is not too bad. I mean, you're looking at 14, 10%, something like that. I'm going to wait to see if the market decides to turn around in the afternoon, because it tends to, as you get day traders that are scaling out their positions, sometimes in the afternoon it starts to head back down. But CLF right now is looking pretty solid. CLF, where is it? CLF. Oh, it's already green on my chart, so on my watch list, it's already green. So to me, my prediction is up for this week. So, man, I'm really wanting to see what this one looks like intraday. Good. Yeah, I'm gonna wait and see if it finds some resistance because we got this stair step right here. Let's see if we can take it back down to like maybe 1076, and maybe we'll get a price, a better price on this one. So, this would be pretty good. And do like CLF right now. So GNRT. GNRT. Let's see if this one. Let's see if we can get a little rebound right here. I know it kind of seems oversold based on this, but this isn't a set in stone trend line here. It's not that statistically significant. We've only got 2 touches here, so let's see if we can bring this one back up. I mean, the profit margins on this one are pretty good, like 13%, 12% roughly. So if this, on this day, if we get some pretty massive volume, then we'll be in pretty good shape to ride this wave back up for roughly 10% or something like that. We can scale out on the way up. So GSAT, I did bring this one in. Oh, come on. GSAT, same thing going on. Up day to day again. To me, this went up way too fast for me to feel comfortable making a purchase. Here, if it heads back down, we get like a little hammerhead. A shooting star doji here. We'll make a decision on that one, and we can ride it up to this resistance, because I don't consider this a support anymore because it's been rejected twice already. So if this one manages to break this, then it'll be a little more ambiguous. Maybe the consolidation period is going to be playing in this area. So who knows? GSAT's a little volatile right now in my opinion, so we'll just have to wait and see what it does. I do like it right now because it's trading consistently in the millions. So this is pretty good. I mean, there's a lot of volume on it consistently, so I do like how this one is developing. HSC, a little more ambiguous here. Pretty good potential in HSC. If we can manage to break this support line, right now it is resistance, but if we can manage to break above that, then it's going to be pretty good for a ride back up. Let's see, Tech, one of my favorites. Right now, it is one of my favorites. One, because you got some pretty good pricing here. I do have a 2076 alert on this one because I do want to get alerted when the wave rides back up. Because I mean, look at these profit margins, like 30%. And even if you go for like the short term right here on this resistance, even at the 50 EMA, let's say your stop is at the 50 EMA, that's still 10%, like 9, 8, 10%, something like that. So this is looking pretty good. Curious to see where this one goes. If this support line holds up, we'll be in pretty good shape to ride the wave back up. Now, do bear in mind that it had earnings here, and it did end up dropping, so the news wasn't that great. But let's see if we can't get this move back up. Hopefully the bulls take this one. But that's about all I've got going on as far as my watch list this week. If I do have more, I'll bring them up as the week goes on. But you know, that's pretty much all I've got going on my end. Good luck.